Well, let's bring in legal expert now, Mpumelelo Zikalala, to explain exactly what it means for Magudumana's bid for freedom with this application. Mpumelelo joins us now for this conversation. Mpumelelo, as always, thank you so much for your time. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the South African Morning. Let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, when this story broke yesterday late, it almost seemed preposterous that there would be even an application of this nature to say, I was abducted from Tanzania and unlawfully brought back to South Africa while you were aiding and abetting a convicted criminal to escape. But is there some kind of hold on her application? Could it be possible for Nandipha Magudumana to actually challenge the courts based on this very same claim?
Well, one is good morning to you and also to your viewers. One is speaking from a point where they haven't read the papers, but from the pure legalistic point of view, I don't think there is a case. Let's remember, let's focus on the sequence of events and what the court is going to look at. The court is going to say you're coming here on an urgent basis. You must say I must drop everything that I'm doing and only focus on your matter. I'll only do so if there's a right that I need to protect. You don't have any other alternative remedy to state your cause of concern and get your relief other than this one that you've come to in court. On a balance of probabilities at a later stage, you are certainly going to win the matter. And there's irreparable harm in which you are going to suffer. Now, let's look at the facts of this case. None of those things are available except for the rights that need to be protected. Alternative remedy, you could have applied for bail and fight your battles when you are outside. The same freedom in which you are seeking now, you could have been able to get. When it comes to irreparable harm, there's none in which you are going to suffer. People get arrested on a daily basis in South Africa. They get their reprieve if they are found not guilty, either through suing the state, or sometimes they leave it like that because they're now exonerated. But on the elements of agency alone, Doctor, I don't think you have any agency in which you can come to court and say, this is a cause of concern, can you please protect me? And let's also look at the amount of time that has left since the day of the arrest up until now. Unless you can prove to the court the type of things that you have done on a daily basis, the court is going to say, well, it's urgent for you, but it's not urgent for me. It's self-inflicted agency. So I'm not going to entertain whatever that you're saying. But most importantly, whatever the doctor is complaining about can be well ventilated within a criminal court and not a civil court. So go there so that you're able to ventilate and able to challenge the manner of your arrest, whether there's a cause for concern for your arrest, or even facts that leads that you are really part and parcel of the type of alleged criminal activities in which you are alleged to have committed. Don't come to a civil court in order to deal with that. So it's most likely that the court may dismiss this application for lack of agency, and even on the merits then say, no, wait up until the facts have been given to you. Remember, at this stage, she does not have the full content of the docket. She does not even know who the witnesses are going to be and what exactly they are going to say. So you may find that at a later stage, the police or law enforcement agencies have done a very comprehensive investigation process, which at the end of the day may lead to the allegation that she may need to answer a few things. So the court is not going to intervene on that when there's reasonable grounds for a person to go to court to answer.
Well, on that basis, though, is it a stalling tactic? I'm just trying to understand the legal counsel that she's receiving in order for them to even file this kind of application. Somebody's advising you to do something. Obviously, this will being the legal counsel. But what is the strategy here? What's the end game? Is it to delay? Is it to remove attention from herself being an accomplice to her being some kind of a victim? Is it to change the narrative around? I mean, what's the end goal here?
To delay, I don't think so, because the processes are going to continue simultaneously. There's nothing which is going to stop taking place in the magistrate court. Maybe, as you've stated, to remove the idea of saying that do not look at me as a potential criminal, look at me as a victim who was abducted, who is now in South Africa having to answer to something that they don't even know what is happening. But one cannot separate what has been happening earlier in the Johannesburg High Court and what is happening now, where a person is using civil proceedings to install criminal proceedings for their own benefit. I will not mention names, but it's the presidential type of thing which has been taking place lately. So I think it's those type of texts to then say, let me go and test whether the civil court is going to come to my aid and look at these particular processes. Let me go and test whether I can't use civil proceedings to try and extract information which would have not been given to me at this particular stage. Let's remember, if she would have applied for bail, got out on bail, the context of the docket will only be available to her maybe at a later stage, 6 months or even 8 months from now, depending on how the police are working. But for now, if you request it now, you are then actually forcing and squeezing the state into giving you information that you have not been privy to at an earlier stage, because they now need to prove and say, this is the cause for alleging that this is the person who is the correct individual that you've arrested. This is the manner in which you've arrested them in Tanzania. There's nothing wrong in which we have done. We've complied with everything when it comes to our investigation. So we are on the right side of the law. We just needed to answer. The only way in which you could force the police or the state to give you that information is through civil proceeding. And I think it's part of those tactics.
Yeah, you know, at this moment in time, I think more than anything else, Mpumelelo, South Africans want to know how is it that these two individuals managed to get away with it for so long. You know, it's one thing having to be an escaped prisoner, but it's one thing to have been an escaped prisoner for over a year. That means that somebody aided, somebody helped conceal and cover. And would it, to assume that it stops with, for example, the likes of G4S employees and Nandipha's father's involvement, would it be naive of us to assume that these individuals can carry out such an elaborate escape and still manage to conceal it for over a year without the help of those that are in higher spaces of power? And I'm asking this because if those that are in higher spaces of power who aided these criminals or this particular convicted murderer in escaping were the very same people who are, funny enough, in the shadows, not want to see Nandipha Magudumana not face the might of the law so as to avoid what she could possibly say. So if there are people of highest power or highest standing interested and invested in these two getting away with it, would they not then try to find a way of advising her so that this narrative can be shifted in her favor? Because at the end of the day, they might be afraid of what she might spill the beans on.
Definitely. One cannot speculate on the deep pockets of either of the parties that are there, but it's a very expensive exercise to say to counsellor, to your legal representative, go to court on an urgent basis to try and fight this matter for me. Especially when you look at it, even without dwelling into the facts, you could see that the chances of prospects of success are very slim. But what is alarming is the silence of the Department of Justice when it comes to an overall investigation that ought to have been done in this matter, in terms of saying, let's look at the legislative loopholes that we have, either when it comes to manner in which we're supposed to guard our prisons, our manner in which we're supposed to manage our private-public partnerships, either with G4S or any other company that is there, the manner in which that particular prison is being operated. But then let's investigate on our own and be able to find officials on our own that we are going to fire, hold accountable, inflict or maybe create measures in which would prevent this type of things from taking place ever again. And simply do small things like lifestyle audits of all the people that are there and say to them, Chief, you are living way beyond your means. Can you please explain where you are getting this money from? If you can't, then you need to charge or do further investigation so that you're able to boil down to the bottom of this. But one cannot escape that particular explanation of saying that there may be other individuals out there who are saying, we do not want our names to be mentioned in this manner. We're going to do everything that we can. We're going to engage in any stalling tactics which is there, anything which will be able to trump these particular charges at an early stage. In fact, if there are instances of non-compliance with any international law or any rights that have been afforded to the accused, to make sure that this matter never sees the light of day in terms of a trial or first witness going to your witness box in this matter. So if we are going to do that, we will be able to trample that information. But it is up to our government to then come back to us and say, people of South Africa, we want you to have trust in us and the manner in which we are managing our prisons. So this is what we have done so far to ensure that there are no processes or there are no people who can be able to do this thing again and be able to get away with it. We may have caught this one a year after, but we'll make sure that this thing never ever happens again.
Mpumelelo, we'll leave it there for this morning, but much appreciated as always for your time as well as analysis, legal expert Mpumelelo Zikalala on this particular matter concerning Nandipha Magudumana, who says that the man in which she was, actually she says that she was abducted from Tanzania and moved back to South Africa. And of course, yes, she's filed an application, urgently so, to be able to challenge the courts on that, saying that she was indeed abducted.